many men on as many guns for as long as possible. We called him Doc. Welcome to Combat Vet Vision. And now your host, Aaron Chief Seibert.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? Hey, this is Combat Vet Vision. This is where I get to give my opinion, my life story, whatever that is. And, this life story, whether I have some guests on, it's their story. It's a combination of a lot of things. A lot of people have been kind of worried about me lately. A lot of people didn't know that I was in Ukraine for the last year plus, give or take. I got Michael Amato on with me, good buddy of mine. He knows story inside and out with a lot of different things. I have somebody I love there in with me, and we and her kids they're like mine, and there's a lot to it. So Mike's gonna kind of guide through this, ask me the hard questions, do some really cool stuff. Mike, thanks for being on. Let's talk about it, man.
What's going on?
Talk about this probably goes down as one of the creating chaos. I kind of talked about that in the minds and hearts and souls of our abilities to kind of function in a chaotic situation.
Well,
and how we thrive in it sometimes.
Well, let's just go from the beginning to why you even made. A lot of people live in this bubble. We've talked about bubbles and all this other stuff. And you created a life, and you're very well known for helping veterans, and continue to do so even with this chaos around the world going on and everything. And but currently, your own safety and the safety of the people that you love out there were in danger. At one point, I remember you were not too damn far from, so, but why, main thing people need to know is why you even made such a leap in the first place. You were, when I met you, were such a straight-nosed guy. I mean, man, dude, you had some sharp-ass edges on your square. Yeah, you were a square. But you were a badass square because you were a vet, you served, you were honorable, but you used to get on me for hours, right? Hey, man, you need to do this, you need to do that. But you made this decision. And so they need to know why you even decided to take such a crazy leap that the next person probably won't even understand.
Yeah, I think some situations in our life, whether they're good or directional, you might feel a little bit trapped. And I mean trapped in a sense like I felt good about my life, but there's something seriously missing in it. And it's no fault of anybody's but mine. I take full responsibility for people that I've hurt, people that I've taken down paths with me. I thought that was the way I wanted to go, and it wasn't so. And you've seen it, Mike. You've seen my my work. Yeah, you've seen my direct shift. Yeah, and it's not a shift that's necessarily bad for me, but it's something that I needed and something I need. So
why though? What was the reason to, as you said, create this chaos? Because yeah, you made a shift and it was for you. I mean, but why would someone, in a sense, be selfish? No, not like selfish in a sense like you're going to take somebody else's food off their plate, right?
No, this is kind of like those selfish things I talk about. Taking care of ourselves, and it seems like I always take care of so many other people. And I've taken care of helped out so many combat vets, taking care of this, taking care of that, and taking care of other people all the time. And I really wanted something for me, and something that was amazing and love. And it's a learning process even now. Like I think I felt I've never had any kids of my own, biological. I've taken care of some really awesome kids, and that they have been mine. Um, but I don't know if I attach myself to people very well. And it's one of those things like you never know when you're going to lose somebody, so you don't want to give yourself too much to anybody. And I have a very hard time with that. And I feel like, I treat things a little bit more like missions and rigidity, and I don't always give my heart very well. I know that, and I'm learning a lot in the process that I'm in now, to do that a little bit better. But I give my heart to the mission, the soul. But I know you and I we won't go 2 weeks without talking to each other.
Yeah,
There's just
it's very true.
But I'll outreach to a lot of guys throughout the day, other veterans that are dealing with stuff, and that's like my mission. But I fell in love with with a woman in Ukraine that
Mhm.
really kind of enlightened me to do something that was strictly for me.
How did you meet her?
I met her through a podcasting deal. I mean, she was a broadcaster on a site, and she was doing her thing, and just ended up talking to her in general, and didn't think she was gonna give me any kind of feedback, or but she really felt that I was worth talking to and being in her life.
All right, now we're going to backtrack just a little bit, get back on task. Like when did you start noticing that you really needed a shift in your life, where you were searching for it? Because I do remember a certain time you hit me up in the middle of the night, right? And said, "Man, I made a mistake and everything, and obviously I had you come and live out on the ranch with me for a couple of days. Was 2 or 3 days, wasn't long, but you kind of need to get some stuff off your chest." And it was a different side because, like I said, you were that box. Now all of a sudden you're a squiggly line. And it
Yeah.
seemed like everything was going downhill. But I kind of noticed, like you were saying, you needed something for yourself and your heart. A lot of people, we fall in and out of love, and they say love is forever. I'm sure you love your soon to be or ex-wife, still in some sort of capacity. And I know that goes back as well because I know her. But was that when you really thought you needed something this I'll use the word drastic, like, because you're no longer in America, and do you really have plans to return?
I do and I don't, plans to return as far as that's concerned. But when you talk about, how that, yeah, when you look back at, these feelings that I was having before, and I really didn't know how to express them to anybody really, let alone myself, articulating um, this issue of me, needing this escape. Um, and really, I don't feel that anymore. It's right here. And what I'm in, it's not it's not the need for this escape. And I don't know why I felt that way. I think it's probably based off the fact that I was trying to go one direction and seemed like she was going another. And I had to like conflict with that and different things. I feel like, um, how, and and now I can do everything I want to do still, taking care of combat vets, reaching out. I spend about 4 hours a day, probably talking to guys. I got a couple guys ready to go to Camp Hope, coordinating things with Warrior Built different times. You know, fundraisers that are coming up. Not that that's really my thing as much as it is where the rubber hits the road, talking to vets all the time. And sometimes where does that start and where does that end? Um, vets, when does PTSD kick in? Probably late at night. And I feel like I need to be available at that time, and it works out pretty good. And I have plenty of time to do that because night's a totally different time here. So,
Right.
um,
Like the whole chaos thing, once you met her, I mean, she didn't really bring you chaos. Kind of, I noticed a different calm level of you. Uh, I horribly was saying her name. I kept saying Nika, but you said it's Vika, right?
Correct.
Let her know I apologize. But you know, with all that, what was your thoughts when, after getting to know her, obviously, and you're like, hey, I'm really going to go through with this? Because I mean, most people in America won't understand love unless they've been truly in love, and or even understand doing what you did, period. I mean, I think with you, because from what I've seen, especially when I first met you, you always lived, and you stated this, I live vicariously through all you screwed up vets. To say it bluntly, right? That's exactly how you said it. And because I
Yeah,
was
but
living a wild life.
and let's talk about that real quick, Mike, because when you live in vicariously through vets, I get so many aha moments from everybody. As we talk about things, there's puzzle pieces in my own head that are coming together because somebody's talking about it in a way that makes sense. It may not be the same situation, but I can truly relate to it, and just plug into it, and it just, so sometimes I get these like ability to maybe talk about my issues maybe better than I would otherwise, and if I was stuck in my own head. So I live vicariously by being stuck in everybody else's head too. Yeah. So
Right. Well, you like I'm saying on that particularly, you used to still kind of hide yourself in that box, and then and
yep.
you you would retreat to this what you called normal, and most Americans and most people around the world consider normal to be kind of whatever they were growing up watching on TV, or what they saw for a moment in time with so and so and whatever family member, and they think that that's reality. But when they find out what reality is, it kind of sometimes can be a big downer. And you were actually a lot more stubborn then than you are now. When somebody, I think, at least with me, I can't say with other people, but with me, whenever I make a decision and you think it's a little off the wall, and but what was your thought
Yeah.
like right before? Because obviously you got a lot of backlash, right? Got a lot of
Oh yeah.
backlash from that
I mean,
choice. I mean,
you know,
including me. I thought you were
yeah,
stupid, and I still
yeah,
kind of think you are dumb. But I mean, I love you to death. I mean, you got to love your brother no matter what they do. There's people right now making decisions to go join things and do things. So, but
right.
what was your
It-
mindset when the chaos began?
my mindset was, I need to commit for one to this to coming over and being in love and creating this family. Um, and and it was something I truly believed in. I mean, other people maybe didn't. It was kind of a definitely outside the box, like you said. There's a lot of people that wouldn't have done or won't ever do. Um, you know, but I got to experience something that nobody got to experience, and I'm experiencing it right now. Um, but it's not about that. It's just about living my best life that I want, that I can, that and I think by doing that, it kind of like sparked like a lot of moving parts that had to like kind of kick in, and a lot of sacrifice to give up a lot of stuff, to thought processes, to houses, to relationships. Um,
You walked away from a huge. I mean, no offense, but I even told you because I'm the type of person, especially once I notice somebody's willing to jab at me and make sure I notice what I'm doing. Right? You were that guy. You'd look right at me. I mean, people, for
yeah,
if
yeah,
you don't
exactly.
understand, Warrior Built is an organization where we don't just help each other, but we also are a foot up each other's ass. Okay, and that is because the whole point and mission of Warrior Built is to constantly be moving forward. So if we see some, and we're never always in agreement. I mean, you ask from the highest up in there to the bottom person just walked in the door. Ain't nobody better than the next damn person. We got guys that sit there and engrave a whole entire vehicle, right? But he ain't no better than me. All he has is a skill. We're all vets and we're all working together. He might have, amazing engraving skill, and I can do a stick figure, but is he still moving forward, right? Is that just his end? Is he still being a good person outside of doing that? And that was a lot of my concern with you was like, does it fill your heart? Does it actually make you feel like you're a better person? Do you wake up every day with a fire? Because, in our souls, we have this fire, right? When we're depressed and we're sad, we're not able to really replenish that. And that's when we reach out. But also sometimes, we put the wrong fuel in our fire. And so that's when our brothers try to stand in and say, hey, man, you're an idiot. Because I looked right at you. I said, you know what you're walking away from? Walking away from a lot of money, right? I mean,
Right.
but
But then,
it doesn't matter
do you
in the long
measure, but I measure that out, and I talk about it all the time, quality of life versus quantity of life. And, granted, I had a pretty good quality of life, but this is the quality of life that I wanted, that I needed, that I am in. Even, even, even running, on the day that Russia came across the line, man. I mean, the adrenaline rush was in effect. I mean, all these cool things. I mean, there's a lot of really interesting things that goes on in the mindset. Um, and my fear factor wasn't there. It's just not there anymore because we already walked through the valley of death, and came back from it 3 times for me. Getting hit with that mortar round um, set me on a different path that I would have never expected. But there's just a lot. There's a lot to it, and you talk about it, Mike. This is a side of me that people don't never get to see. There's probably 40 people that knew, maybe 50, that know the ins and outs of this whole ordeal in my life. And
and
I
some
and
people
I was tracking those 50 or 40 people every day during my journey. Um, a lot of people worry about me, but I really didn't want them to worry about me, because I've already lived a lifetime, man, a really good one.
well
Anything that would happen, I'm on bonus time right now. I'm on.
no. See, that's bullshit. You sit there and you say bonus time, then whatever, then you're cheating the people you love. So
No, yeah, I get it.
yeah,
Yeah.
well, that's why
So
I'm on here, is
the
because I'll
mindset,
call
the
you out.
mindset is like that a little bit. Yeah.
Your mindset on it, when you any veteran who's been to combat knows adrenaline rushes, right? You can put the next guy next to me and he could have seen a million times more than me, but either way, it's still the same. Adrenaline rush is an adrenaline rush. And, in that moment, you accept death just in case. And that feeling's familiar. So it's not so much so a flight or fight or flight feeling, so it's more of a trained mindset because you have training. But,
Right.
you do care about the people, and that's why you did stay in contact. And a lot of people might also too say like, well, 40 or 50, that's a shit ton of people who know your business, right? Most people don't air their laundry, but it's good to sometimes air your laundry because it takes a weight off your chest. And that's what your podcast is about for a lot of guys, done for me. Um, and that's why I suggested it for you because, whether or not you didn't want somebody and you don't want somebody to worry. I mean, when we die, right? When we die, you say, hey, man, go party, go smoke a bunch of weed, drink, get laid,
Yeah.
right? Do
Hey,
some cool
let
shit.
me just point this out. I Mike suggested this podcast to all the listeners that he's like, hey man, let me come on there and kind of run you through the gambit. And I'll tell you, man, it's like, damn, all right, because otherwise I might steer it in a more uh, sugarcoat some area of it, and you're gonna steer it in a direction that's not that way. And so this kind of tells a different story side of me, things that are going on in the mindsets. I don't know, but yeah, Mike, I mean, I said, all right, let's do it. But this is probably one of the hardest podcasts that I'll probably give. You know,
Well, and it's good that you're man enough to do that. See, men learn, men are willing to face things, and whether or not because you said it earlier, you don't want people to worry. You don't, I'm going to hold that right here. We're going to finish that, but that doesn't matter. And I called your ass in the middle of the night. I was a little drunk, proudly, to rip into your ass because you are an asset, and assets aren't allowed to just go around willy nilly. Okay, you know, whenever in an engagement you don't value your assets correctly, you end up sitting there without things. So your life is actually very important, whether you might think or you third life, fourth life. I give a shit. Go ahead and think you're a cat and live 9 lives. You know, it doesn't matter. We just got done talking about Mr. Dela Cruz, and he was an asset that
Right.
was lost. Now he wants everybody to smile and move on with life, obviously. But you
And this is
think that
Operation
that's
Silver
how it's going to
Star,
be.
Mr. Dela Cruz. Yeah.
Yeah, you're going to think that that's going to be a thing for you if that were to happen. But then also you got to think about this. You got to think about the people that are in that building with you right now. Okay. Whether or not us here, we're all grown ass adults, but those are grown ass adults plus 2 children that ended up getting to know this American.
3 only because we brought her nephew too.
Oh,
It was
okay.
her
Well,
nephew and her son and daughter. Yeah.
that's awesome. But and your situation, period, because you are a vet and because you do have experience, is able to help those people more, right? So imagine where they'd be right now eating soup out in the cold, or standing in line at a bus waiting, hopefully, to get out with air raid sirens. I mean, the situation there in Ukraine has slowly deteriorated. They're putting up a good
Yeah, and
fight,
it's not just
but it's not a
Ukraine. I
policy.
mean, it's Sumy Ukraine, which is very, very rough. I mean, we had to leave her mom and her brother behind. We call them every once in a while. Um, electricity was out for 24 hours because they dropped a bomb and just did some damage to it. But luckily, workers were able to get it back up and running. But you're right, man. It's definitely a different situation. And even though they're making these green zones for people to escape from, so far they're not really too many escaping. A lot more getting killed. You know, they're just shooting them,
Yeah,
doing
but I
whatever.
mean, when it comes to you and you being out there, let's get, because this is going to be a multiple thing. Let's go to
Right.
you being out there your first. Because man, I many a times you message me, man, like this is not, because as Americans we are selfish. It's the American ideology to be that way and care about yourself more or care about your tribe, your area more than the rest of the world. A lot of people in America don't really understand why we even are involved in the rest of the world. They think we can kind of close doors and carry on. But when you were out there your first week, like, were you nervous? Did you like? Because these were things I
Yeah,
wish I
you're talking about when I came to
initially. Yeah.
Ukraine. Oh, initially, yeah. My first week. You talk about being, you're in a different environment. Sure, you're like, hey, what's going on here? Let me do some research. Let me keep low key. Um, I had Vika talk the whole time. I wouldn't say anything. Um, I kept pretty hyper vigilant. But yeah, man. But it was totally a safe zone. I mean, it's safer here than safer in Ukraine than anywhere in America. Not everybody's armed with guns and creating all this havoc. A matter of fact, I mean, we'd go to karaoke sometimes, and one night we went to karaoke during COVID, and it's a Friday night, and the COVID, the karaoke store place stays open later than it should, and they're like, "Oh, you can't leave right now because there's some cops outside, and we got to wait till they go away." Well, they didn't go away. Like, more cops showed up and they raided the place, and they're like, "Oh, you're getting a ticket for staying open too late." I was like, I'm like, hey, on a Friday night, if that's all you have to do is go after, a place that's open a little too late for COVID, there must be some serious problems.
Was your
Just
was your living like so? Did you when you met her and you first were out there? How was the living conditions? Were you considered upper middle class, lower, higher?
no,
What?
high, higher. I mean, just you come over here, your dollar's 4 times stronger. Right
Mhm.
now, it's super strong. It's 30 grivnas to the dollar right now, but nobody's in Ukraine spending money. Um, so it's just it's everything's like 4 times cheaper. Not everything. I'd say, when you look at cars and like big item products,
Yeah.
across the board, they're pretty much standard costs. Like a car is going to cost you, right? It's still going to be cheaper. A brand new car was sitting at like, I don't know, 18,000 for, entry level car. So you're looking at that and saying, hey, those prices are the same. TVs, right around $600, stuff like that. But when you talk about food and entertainment and dates and everything else, way cheaper, 4 times cheaper, five times cheaper.
What
It was strange.
What about like, so you were there for
Oh, even though you can buy those apartments there, and these apartments are starting at like 25,000 on up. I mean, they go way up, but for a good, good apartment, you can start at 25,000, and
right,
then your rent, if you're just renting an apartment, $250 on up, and the bills are like maybe $50 a month, and that includes every bill.
okay,
Internet, $4 a month, for internet. So you want to look at your markup, insurance. Let's go there, man. Insurance for me to, because I went there and I started 4 weeks of the university of learning Ukrainian. So for me to go to the university and learn Ukrainian for the year is like $1,700 for the year. That to learn to learn it. However, I only got 4 weeks of it, but I had to get insurance, and I'm covered. I'm covered Medicare, TRICARE, VA, and I came with a piece of paper that said I'm covered. Well, I was covered enough to come into the country, but they eventually made me get insurance. And if I would have known this up front, I wouldn't have fought it so much, because I spent probably 5 hours trying to get this piece of paper that said you were covered in TRICARE around the world, and I had to have it say specifically and Ukraine because
right.
it's not part of the whole world. So when I finally got insurance and I had to pay for it, medical insurance, we're talking $26 for the year.
Right.
You break
Well,
you break that down at a monthly pot cost. That's $3 a month.
okay.
Two
I
bucks
mean,
a month.
that's good, but like, so how many trips have you made it back since to the U.S. since you've lived there? I believe at least twice, right?
No, once.
Once.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I remember at one point you were vacationing with her, right? Wasn't it in
Yeah. I went on vacation in Turkey to meet her. Right.
yeah, in Turkey and everything? Yeah, because I remember I video chatted you and there was the mosque in the background, you know, saying their prayer. But so you've been there for a while. You've been there about 6, 7 months. Did you ever think about going like, what the fuck am I doing here?
No, I never did. I just was enjoying uh, the culture, the life, the and still reaching out to my combat vets every day too. I mean, it wasn't, I'm on social media. I'm on all these different platforms. I got a virtual office in verbella.com. So, but over there, it was simple. I mean, everything's great. She's great. She's like, um, mindset wise, just coordinating efforts. Um, even to the point of when I set this thing up. So I said, hey, we got to keep the car full of fuel, the bag packed, and we got to go if they come across that line. She was like, hey, I don't really, I don't believe they're going to do it. I don't want to talk about it, but okay.
Well,
But
nobody wants to wake up and see their country with somebody
no,
coming across. I mean, that's just
and I never go to bed early. And that
yeah.
night I went to bed. The night before I went to bed early, and I woke up. I think some strikes happened at like 5 in the morning, and I didn't feel it or whatever, maybe subconsciously, but I didn't officially wake up till about 5:30. I looked at my phone with a lot of people blowing it up. Hey, dude, across the line, you need to go. I looked at her. I said, hey, check with your friends, see what's going on. And she's like, all right, let's go. We got to do your plan. We got up and just started getting everything ready. And dude, it was quiet at 5:30. It was quiet. So it took us a couple hours. It took us a couple hours just to get all the papers, everything that we could get besides the bag that I already had packed. And I tied this giant suitcase that actually, that Kim Frantum gave me, which is a huge Samsonite suitcase that's like probably can carry about 150 pounds, but it's so big that it probably doesn't go on airplanes very often. But I brought it over with me with a bunch of stuff. But we tied that thing to the top of the roof, man. It looked like a roof rack. So
Yeah, I've seen that in some of the videos. I mean, you were trying to keep in touch pretty well. There was only at one point, and I knew something was wrong because you lapsed what I told you. I said at least every 6 hours, at least 3 or 4. I mean, when you were closer to the shit is when I worried more. But the more you got away, I kind of less worried because it was just about getting the hell out. And it was about how fast they can actually advance, because I had heard several things about, it being something that might take 1 or 2 days, right? But then at first they were gaining a lot of ground, and you were heading south, and
southwest.
and
Yeah,
me and I know a couple other people as well said the same thing. You're like 2 hours from, not a place to go.
we stayed the night. We stayed the night in Winnetzer, which her mom's relatives are there.
Yeah.
And we all stayed in their apartment for one night. But we rolled in there about 12 o'clock in the morning. We got up whatever time, and we weren't in like necessarily that crazy of a hurry, but we were in motion. But we got the air siren, and we had to hang out in the corridor, because obviously these buildings are built, with concrete, and they're pretty durable, even though they're getting hit. You see what happens, but luckily nothing happened from I didn't see anything. So then we got up and rolled, and then you lost contact with me that night because we were down in a valley and heading down, and the road was slightly curved, slightly at an angle that really wasn't a good angle. They've had a lot of accidents there, but it was right at the time where the dew on the road freezes. And so when she hit her brakes to go around the corner a little bit, the car slid and broke the whole steering, the wheel, cross beam. So I watched another car come flying down that road and get a full on accident, rolled all up in the trees. I mean, it was kind of crazy. So these villagers show up. The villagers snags us up, says, "Hey, you're going to stay at our house tonight." Full on farm, cool ass, like crazy Ukrainian history farm, man. It's probably got like mad history. I mean, his dad built this tractor that actually lifted the whole front of the car. They brought it over. Next day, they were trying to weld it and put it all back together for us, but it couldn't be done. So we stayed one more night with them. We ended up staying 2 nights.
What'd you do? Break your A-frame or something? What was the actual damage? You never really said the part.
Yeah, it broke the steering links. Both those broke. It broke part of it off of the and it bent the A-frame. Yeah, it bent that.
Okay, now you've been there for a while, and you've got really immersed, and you fell in love with not just her, but the people there. And from what we're all seeing out here, and what people are seeing around the world, the Ukrainian people are pretty badass people. The Orange Party overthrew the old government, and decided to say we're not going to be friendly with Russia, right? And we're gonna be our own selves. And then they, in a sense, try to attempt to be like the Swiss and be neutral to everybody else's shit, right?
Yeah. But yeah, you want to see my perspective on that, and obviously seeing how that culture is and what the people are about, and this and that. I mean, it's a free country. You go into a country that's free, it's pretty amazing. Now, I will say, the way that Russia used to run things, the USSR, and they fell under the USSR back in the day, where if you got too friendly or crazy with your neighbors and they pointed something out, you would go to jail. They'd be like, "Hey, this person was blah, blah, blah doing this." Whether you did it or not, they're going to wrap you up because the first one that tells the story. So these people still have this mindset that they're kind of private. So you don't have a lot of people being super friendly, like, "Hey, how's it going? Hello." It's a lot more friendly on the Western side, a lot more communication wise, because they got a lot of influences from the West, right? But up there in Sumi, everybody's working hard, man. They don't have an immigration problem. You want to know why? Because you either work or die. These guys are making wages like $500 to $700 a month, and they're all just paying their bills. So they don't get to fully enjoy their country the way that it could be enjoyed. But the infrastructure was getting rebuilt. They were well on their way to, doing this great thing, but they're one of the cheapest countries on the planet. Why? Because Russia would come up every year and act like they're going to do something. Well, this time they really came up and they did something, because Russia doesn't want Ukraine to live better than them. It's none of the things that you think it would be. It probably comes down to the jealousy that's occurring because people were investing in Ukraine. A lot of different things were going on.
Well, yeah,
it was
when
on
it comes
it
to
was on
that,
its way.
people ask because honestly, I mean, no offense to anybody there, but it's a financial move, period. War is financials. People need to understand, yeah, we can put passion, we can think about passion, right? You can think about why somebody wakes up and is willing to pull that trigger. A lot of it's oath driven, a lot of it's a job. People don't understand. Men wake up and they're like, this is my job. My job is to kill. And that's what I do, right? We got Americans doing the same. I mean, Donald Trump said it. He said, what do you think? We're not bad? I sleep just fine every night. So Russia ain't no different. But there's a lot of e-commerce going on, and then the electric push around the world. There's a lot of that there. There's a lot of ore. There's a lot of things to gather.
Yeah,
And
yeah. If you do the research, you can see they're in the top 5 industry of food, all these different things, ores. You're like, wow. And how is it so? How is this country not doing better? I mean,
well,
and it is doing better. The people are doing great. They're doing enough to keep everything going. In Sumi, I would say 1 out of every 10 people have a car. In the western side, it would be 2 out of 10 have a car. So there's a lot of public transportation, and it's all really convenient. Shopping centers, very convenient. Everything's just where you need it to walk to. And if you need to get on a bus, you can do that. Europe's pretty famous for that public transportation. America, they're famous for freeway crowding.
California is.
Yeah, it is.
But yeah, it's let's you've kind of told a little bit about everything and why you went there and lead to it all, and it's a good thing to get that, and I pushed you kind of to do that because you needed to. It's people will stand cluelessly and not understand why or how or also to the human behind the person. You have an army of people that care about you, whether you want to sit there and say, hey, if I
Right.
died right now, not that big of a deal, but you have a large group of those people there, and they push you and kind of put you on this pedestal, and you kind of self-put yourself there. And this is to kind of rip you a little bit off of that, to make you see and feel yourself being human, and so that people can see that you are, but that makes you still even stronger as a person on that pedestal. When you stand up to talk to people, you're standing up, right? So it's a crazy situation in Ukraine. It just really is. You know what I mean? And with everything going on there, I've had to tell several people, war used to be something far away, right? And now war is in your face, whether you're in the country of Ukraine or turned on the TV. You're seeing the damage and the toll that it's taking, and there's not a person on the planet not being affected by that war right now. Maybe not as the Ukrainian people are, by no measure, but it's gotten crazy, and the fact that you were there, you're where now?
I'm in Poland. I'm in the second largest city, Poznan, Po Poznan, Poznan.
Poznan, Poland. Okay.
Correct. And it's about 180 kilometers from, or 120 kilometers, 130 kilometers from uh, Germany, Germany's border. So
Right.
yeah, not too far.
And when as you were on your way out of there, I know you spoke to me several times about wanting to, be in the fight, right? And a lot of people here in America are screaming that they can join it or
Well,
want to join it,
you know,
right? But freedom fighting is
it's a
freedom fighting,
it's a thought. It's a thought that crosses the mind, right?
right? That's what
And
I'm
it
saying.
crossed my mind, but I don't share that with just anybody. I share that with you. I share that with some of my other combat buddies, right? But in all reality, my mission was to get out of there safely, to get her and her kids out of there safely, and to be a family unit, and
Right.
and do it. You know, and you're right. I mean, the thought comes to the mind.
It does. It does. And we'll get into the second part a little bit more about the actual journey on you out of there. You talked
Yeah,
about.
this is a preview kind of to next week's show that'll be narrated with pictures and video of my journey kind of through this process and some of the things that we saw, and lines and um, you know yeah.
Yeah, there was a lot of video, a lot of pictures and stuff I got to see. But you
I was
lived
sending
it,
it to everybody. Yeah.
and I will say that you were successful in your mission. You got them out of there. Those that stay behind for whatever the reasons might be. And young man, call to arms is call to arms. Um, but you, I was happy as soon as you crossed the line. It was like a weight off my chest. I said, man, because for 4 days straight, I sat there, and that's the only thing I really paid attention to. I mean, it was because when you have an asset like you, like whether or not you think you are that, you are, and it mattered. Get you the hell out of there, you know.
Yeah, and I'll just say, Vika's biggest mission, she kept telling me, she's like, it's more important that I get you out of here than my kids. And I was like, why would you say that to me? It's just, being an American, obviously being a political prisoner, if I was to be a prisoner,
Yeah,
there's a lot of things, that go on with that, but she had a very good mindset of it. And I felt really guilty when she said that to me, like,
that's
nah.
just love, man. That's just love. When you're in a relationship with somebody, and you have children. I mean, I love my children, but any woman that gets with me, she's forever. My kids are going to leave one day, So that mentality of you're first, technically, right? I mean, the kids obviously you'll do anything for your children you never want. These thoughts are thoughts that are already there. They're instinct, and I guarantee you she'll continue to always be there for her children. I know that. But I mean, you might not have never really experienced that unselfishness, selfless act, right? Because in that moment, she was actually feeling the same thing. I don't know her really personally, other than a few times talking to her, but anybody who makes that statement, I mean, you political prisoner, nah, man, you wouldn't have been. There's still Americans there, but
Right.
you 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 would have lost some damn weight though. you know.
And speaking of that, I am anyway, but yeah, you're right, for
Yeah.
sure.
Well, I mean, I got to throw blows at you, bro. That's my
Hey,
job.
and there's things that are said, there's the guys that have said things to me and different things, that is like totally jacked up, but really cool, but you'll never hear this. You'll never see that, and there's things I couldn't tell you when I was there, because it was like, hey, I wanted to tell you, we passed this, anti-aircraft unit that's moving their weapons, and stuff. And I didn't want to say anything when I was there because, um, the positions I
Offset.
wasn't giving away. I didn't want to take any pictures of any of the, military vehicles. Matter of fact, I didn't. There were some tanks moving around. I mean, there's a lot of things. And the one guy, he had this handful of World War II carbine uh, bullets. Like just from being shot into the dirt that he's kicked around and found over the
Mm.
years. In this village where we were, and I thought I wanted to take a picture of it, and he's like, "No, you can't." But it was like this rad, like handful. of old, tips of ammunition from carbines, from German carbines back in World War II. And there's just how many rounds were fired that you can walk around and come up with a handful at some point in your life.
Right. I mean, when people gear up for them, man, they gear up, and all the everything you got and everything, and I mean, the good fight is going on in Ukraine. They're fighting for themselves, so,
They are. They're
and
fighting for the spirit, and to see those guys come together and actually, you got to give it to their president. I mean, the guy was like, I don't need a ride, I need ammo,
yeah,
and and that guy's really a true believer in his country, and to have that kind of leadership is super important, amazing. So
right,
yeah,
right. Well, it was a pleasure to be able to do this and be the one to kind of put a foot up your ass. I always take great pleasure in doing that. Some people might not understand why I do. That's just because he's done it 1,000 times to me. So the shit, goes both ways, buddy. But
yeah. We
not
talked
to
about it,
you,
Mike. There,
that's to the person that'll judge me for it. But I give a shit. We all judge each other, anyways. And it's good to see that everybody's safe. There's no business for you technically to be there. You're a true asset in a different level behind the scenes. You're no longer a frontline medic, and
yeah, no,
you're a medic in a different sense. And her as well, her children, they don't need to see that shit. We know what that is, and
right.
we know exactly the cost of war is civilian and innocent. I mean, not just the non-innocent. I mean, I just personally feel sorry for the poor bastard Russians for thinking that they were going to be greeted with fucking flowers.
Yeah.
Swear, let somebody fucking tell me that and say we're going to fucking invade a country. It ain't gonna be fucking flowers, man. You're pretty stupid, But I'm Army, and I kind of take quotes from Pat, and I feel sorry for those poor bastards for challenging us and challenging them. Those are the ones that you should feel sorry for. But the innocent are going to get the fuck out of there, and the good fight ain't over. There's a lot more stuff to come. A lot of medical supplies are on their way. We have a company out there doing that and everything else. But it was a good pleasure doing this with you, and I'm glad you're
Mike,
safe.
thanks a lot for doing the show, man, with me. I can't say, if you need to get a hold of Mike, his contact info is with me. So hit me up anytime. Any final words, Mike, before we head out?
To all the people that are going to sleep tonight in a nice home, I will say this, even though I'm very pro Ukraine, the idea and the thought and the fact that people in political office around the world and the fact that the NATO and everybody is geared up and how close we are, our grandfathers never got it this close. But then again, they might have, and it was still secret, right? But this ain't secret. The world knows how close we are. When you got friends calling you and asking you like you're the, like I know what the fuck Biden's thinking. You know what I mean? Hey
Pretty
man,
sure.
World War this and that. You don't want that, because yes, a lot of people are dying. Yes, Ukraine deserves their independence, and yes, they need to fight for it. And but World War is not an option. Shouldn't be ever. On all sides, all fronts. War sucks. It's hell. War creates PTSD. And it's something that a country deals with forever. It gets passed down to children. I know children that have issues, mental health issues, because their Vietnam father, beat them or whatever might happen because coming back from the shit they seen. So the carnage and the true toll of this situation ain't over yet. It's just begun, and that we need to mitigate it as best as we can. That's just my personal political view on the matter. But fuck, everybody's got an ass, so everybody's got a political view. So, I'm just happy you're safe and you're back, brother.
Thanks, Mike. Hey, this is Combat Vet Vision. This is where we really gonna put our stuff out there. I want to say, even though I'm here, I can still handle and I'm taking care of a lot of combat vets in a lot of different ways. don't feel like that's not an option for me. It is. It's my life. It's what I do. So hey, Mike, thanks a lot. Appreciate you. Till next time, strength and honor. Out.